Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Max, and today I'm going to be doing a gouache painting, and meanwhile I'm going to be telling you a bit about my experience this past academic year on a full-time art course, because as it's coming to the end of the year, you might be considering applying, or maybe you have already applied, and I just want to give you some advice, some things to expect, some sort of misconceptions that you should be aware of. And if you're a bit on the fence about it, hopefully give you some clarity about whether or not it's the sort of thing that you're prepared to do. As much as I'd love to get straight into the content of the video, I do feel like since I'm doing a painting of Joseph Stalin, I do need to kind of explain myself a little bit to, avoid any accusations of being a Joseph Stalin fan. Basically, so the project that we're working on at school at the moment is called the Time Project, and you have to pick like a decade in the 20th century and copy like an art movement that was popular at the time. And since I did the Soviet Union for GCSE, and it's something that I'm kind of familiar with and something I'm interested in, I thought I would pick the kind of Stalinist era and have my art movement be socialist realism, which was basically the only art that he let anyone make. It's basically like everyone had to look really happy and he had to look cool, and it had to be really easy for everyone to understand, and it had to support the sort of communist message. And as I said in the intro, I will be using gouache, and this won't be a gouache tutorial, so if you want any tips on how to use gouache, I do have a video just for that, which I'll link here. So the course that I'm on at the moment is called a Level 3 Subsidiary Art and Design Diploma, and I will be giving advice specifically tailored for that course. But if you're doing or considering doing A-level art, or a different art and design course, then this advice will probably still be useful, but I just thought I'd let you know specifically where I'm coming from. So the first thing I'd say is that I don't think this is the case for A-level art, but for my course at least, you'd get a lot more freedom than with GCSE. So with GCSE, you'd have like a specific theme that you'd have to stick to, whereas on my course, you are given like a medium, and you can do anything you like as long as you're using that medium. So we did the drawing project, graphics project, painting project, photography. You could choose any theme, any subject matter, as long as you're using that specific medium. It's only with the time project that we're now being given slightly more narrow parameters. One thing that you might see as a negative, but I personally don't, I really enjoy this aspect of the course. There is quite a substantial amount of writing that you have to do. You've got to write, they market them to us as annotations, but they're essentially essays. You have to write quite a lot. And that's kind of analysis on different artists and paintings, and writing about your process of when you create a piece, and writing a final evaluation afterwards, writing about different, uses of materials, and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of writing involved. I enjoy writing, but if you really don't enjoy writing, and you're, adamant that you will not do any writing, then you probably shouldn't join this course, because you'll fail. You need to write a certain amount of stuff to hit the criteria to be able to pass. So if your criteria for picking a course involves no writing whatsoever, to be honest, I think you'll be pretty hard pressed. But yeah, don't join this course. Also, if you have quite a narrow set of skills, or not skills necessarily, but a narrow set of materials and themes that you like to work with, you might struggle. You'll either sink, or you'll discover a new passion for a different thing, and you'll be soaring. But this kind of course does explore heaps of different kind of medias, sculpture, painting, drawing, most of them. So if you are somebody who absolutely hates anything that isn't drawing, then you might struggle, or maybe it'll open your eyes to, new different mediums, and you'll be able to kind of expand your skill set a bit, and it'll be really good for you. That's just something you need to kind of consider and decide for yourself. Something I know about A-level art is that it is very fine art oriented, and it's mostly painting, I'm pretty sure, and maybe a bit of sculpture as well. But it's not as kind of stylistically broad. It's definitely, you can try all kinds of sort of traditional art styles, Fauvism, Expressionism, all that kind of thing. And so you might be considering, if you're not as inclined to more traditional art styles, you might be considering a full-time art course as an alternative. But I will have you know that it is pretty fine art based as well. I'd say the only kind of unit that isn't particularly fine art based would be the graphics unit, in which you make a logo. But also, it's worth noting, the units that I did might not necessarily be the ones that you will end up doing if you probably will be going to a different school to me, because there's so many different units, and the teacher picks like 20, like 18 to 20, I can't remember how many it is, units from that list. So there might be other ones that I'm not aware of. But it definitely has less of a fine art element, but fine art is still quite a big component of it. Like, it kind of depends if you can kind of manipulate the brief slightly to kind of fit a more maybe illustrative, or if you're really into like kind of anime, kind of manga style, or like cartoony kind of drawings, you'll definitely be able to manipulate some of the prompts into being able to fit that. But if that's the only thing you want to do, again, this is probably gonna not be the course for you. And I'd say that if you're more interested in kind of like animation, illustration, there is like a course called animation and illustration at my college at least, so maybe try and find somewhere that does that instead. If you're definitely more of a kind of cartoony, you don't like painting realistically, you don't like drawing realistically, then maybe consider that as an option. Also, another misconception is that it will be easy. Lots of people think that they can like keep on top of the work, but like they see it as an easier alternative to doing 3 A levels as opposed to one course that's worth 3 A levels. No, not at all. You're only in, at my school at least, you're only in 2.5 days a week, so you've got loads of time off, but you're not using that as time off. That should be time that you're at home doing your work, because you were set a lot of work. It's like 3 A levels worth of work, so it's not an easier option. It's not a cop-out. If you are trying to pick this course because you think it'll be like not a lot of work, then again, it's probably not the right course for you, and you should probably maybe do like a level 2 or level 1 instead if you're like really averse to doing any work. So to summarize, do this course if you are willing to work hard, if you enjoy exploring multiple mediums, and you don't mind working in a more fine art oriented kind of space, and if you don't mind doing writing elements as well, then this is probably the perfect course for you, and you'll probably have a great time. And if you're none of those things, then you should probably reconsider your options a bit. So hopefully now you have more of an idea of whether or not you will apply for such a course. But now I'm going to be giving you advice as if you were, like things that you need to keep in mind and consider as if in September you're going to be starting this kind of course. So you will probably have been given some summer work. I recommend you do that like immediately, like do it right now. Do not wait till the end of the summer when you're like really tired from doing fun stuff and you like are just like, oh well, I'm starting soon anyway, so I'll just do it in the first week or something. You know, no. Do it now, because otherwise you'll start school and you won't have done the work. Your teacher will immediately have a bad kind of impression of you. And you'll be set work in the first week, so you'll already be starting behind on your work. So that's just a terrible idea. Don't do that. Just do it now. Do it and get it out the way at the start of the summer, and then you can enjoy the rest of your summer and have a really nice break, and then start the year with like a fresh kind of ready to not get behind. And you need to keep up this attitude of getting your work done the whole way through the year, because if you leave it to the last minute, it's just naturally not going to be as good quality. Not only will it be rushed, but the kind of the input from the lessons, like the kind of learning behind it, say you were learning about an artist and then you needed to write an essay about it. If you do it a lot later than when it was set, then all of that is going to have gone out of your mind. You're not going to remember the key information that you were given, and you're going to have to like do the research on your own, and which you meant to do anyway, do the research on your own. But you know, you'll have forgotten everything, and you'll find it a lot more difficult, and like the work you'll produce won't be as good. So just stay on top of your work. Do it when it's set. Don't think, oh, well, I've got so many months to do this, so I'm not going to do it yet. Do it now, because you will be set more work, and then you'll be like, the deadline will be tomorrow, and you'll still have like a mountain of work to do. It's just silly. Just don't do that. Right, now I've told you what not to do, I'm going to tell you what you should do, and how you can make this like 2 years of your life great, and have a really productive time and come away with the grade that you deserve. So, try and, because you have a lot more control over the kind of theme and the subject matter of your work, so try and pick something that will make you happy, something that you're passionate about. For example, for my first project, the drawing project, I, at the time, was really into my book that I was writing, and so I decided to do a huge illustration of some characters from my book, and I had a really good time making that, and it was really fun. If I'd have picked, like, a still life of some flowers, I'd have got bored pretty quickly, and I wouldn't have been motivated to do it. And if you're not motivated, and if you're not interested, you're not going to produce your best work. So just try and as your teacher's like presenting the next unit, the next brief to you, already start thinking of things like special interests that you have that you can link to the project, that you can like just channel a passion from somewhere else into your project, so that one, it doesn't feel like work and you actually are motivated to do it, and two, you can produce something really personal to you that you can kind of like show a bit of your personality in as well. Another thing you should do is listen, and that might sound really stupid and obvious, but in like a college environment, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the whole like independence and the fact there's like no punishment system for some reason, and you can basically get away with doing anything. That doesn't mean just because you can get away with chatting to your mate doesn't mean you should, okay? Because if you're not listening, then you're missing the instructions, and then the deadline could come up, and then your teacher could be like, oh, we've not done this bit of work. And you're like, well, I didn't know we had to. Well, like, yeah, because you weren't listening, like. And on that note, do actually come to school, because it's only 2.5 days a week, like, you're getting half the week off. Also, be nice and polite to your teachers, even if you don't like your teacher, which I quite like both my teachers, but even if you don't like your teacher, not only is your teacher the one giving you the grade, but the teacher is the one who's helping you, and if you're not very pleasant to your teacher, then your teacher's less likely to want to help you. And in terms of receiving help from your teacher, if you've made a work that you're really proud of, and you show your teacher, and they're like, not disappointed, but they're like, oh, and they're like, well, maybe you should change it to do this. It's okay to feel angry and to be like upset by that, because that's happened to me like almost every time I finish something, and then I've shown my teacher, and he's been like, oh, well, this, and this, and I've been like really annoyed and upset. But then I did it anyway, like I enacted on the feedback I was given, and it made sure that I could get the grade that I deserved. So don't just like go off in a huff and be like, oh, my teacher's horrible, my teacher's mean to me. Like, just, your teacher's doing their job, okay? They know what they're talking about. Like, follow their advice, do the work, and then it'll improve your grade, and you'll be better off for it. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you found my advice useful, and if you didn't, I hope you enjoyed watching me paint some Soviet propaganda. If you are going to college in September, I hope you have a really great time and everything works out for you, and I'll see you next week.